Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to Utility Sports. What a wonderful night day one of the NFL draft was. A lot of surprising picks, picks like J.C. Horn to the Carolina Panthers, also Zaven Collins at 16 to the Arizona Cardinals. A big shakeup. Not exactly what we were expecting, but still a very awesome night indeed. We saw Justin Fields go to the Chicago Bears. Mac Jones, of course, land in New England as well. Two of the big QB dominoes falling after pick 10. Pretty crazy night. Thank you again to those who did come into the live stream. We did have a lot of fun with you talking about the NFL draft. It was a great experience and a really good night. Now, in this video today, we're going to be talking about the best players available going into day two of the NFL draft. Of course, that is rounds 2 and 3 today, starting at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And before we jump into this video, guys, hit that subscribe button if you are new to Utility Sports. We would love to have you a part of the Utility Sports gang here. We're just up over 2,600 subscribers and still growing at this point. We would love to have your continued support. So let's jump into it. My top 10 here still available. This is based off of my individual board on players who are still available. And here at 10, I have Joseph Osai as the 10th best available player. Now, the one thing I'm going to say about this is some of these players are very scheme specific. Not all of these players will fit into every defense or offense that I'm talking about. But Joseph Osai, I think, is an interesting linebacker edge hybrid breed that could be a very nice blitzing option in the NFL, someone who could present a little bit of speed off the edge. I think he's going to be a quality player in the run game, and he's going to be a Swiss Army knife with how a defensive coordinator could use him, especially in a 3-4 system. Now, 4-3, I don't think he really translates very well, but looking for some 3-4 teams, someone like Jacksonville, I think would be an interesting fit. However, I don't really see them going in that direction because of their already potent edge position with K'Lavon Chaisson and also Josh Allen. I just don't really see them looking at a guy like Osai yet at this point. But I really like what he brings. Gives you good speed, good athleticism, and also just has a nose for the football. Against Oklahoma State this past year, he had 3 sacks, 5 tackles for loss in a game. He's a beast. I like what Joseph Osai brings a lot. Now looking at number 9, we have Jalen Darden here from North Texas. He is a mean green, and this guy is electric. This is going to be probably the one player on this board you might not have heard about even before this video. Jalen Darden is electric. He has a lot of nice qualities to him. He changes direction better than anyone in this class and arguably better than anyone I've ever scouted in the NFL draft. If you guys haven't watched him, you got to make sure to do that after this video to see exactly what I'm talking about. This guy is Kadarius Toney, but on steroids with ability to change direction. Now he's a little undersized, 5'9", doesn't really have the best route running toolkit right now at this point, and he's also not going to break a lot of tackles if he does get hit. However, he is elusive. He can avoid tacklers very well. This picture, I think, is a good indication of that, as we have a defensive player here on the ground as Jalen Darden is walking into the end zone. He does that a lot. If you guys haven't watched him, like I said, you've got to do so. I really like what he brings. He probably won't be a pick on day 2, honestly, is my thought. I don't think he will. He's probably a day 3 selection. However, I think that he is a game-changing talent that could possibly end up being one of the steals in this year's draft. Pick number 8 now, the eighth best player available is Wyatt Davis for me. Interior offensive lineman from Ohio State. And just looking at Wyatt Davis, there's going to be some places he just doesn't fit in. If you're looking for a place where you're going to be a zone run scheme, get out in space and move, that's just not where Wyatt Davis is going to land. He's going to be a power run blocker in the middle of an offensive line for a team, and I really like what he's going to bring. Once he gets up to the second level, he can be a mauler in those areas, but I think he's best suited hitting D tackles and hitting them early and hard. He's going to be someone who can spring some holes in double team situations off the offensive line, and also is going to win consistently in one-on-ones against some smaller D tackles. I think that he's going to be a very nice interior offensive lineman in the NFL if he lands in the right scheme that is a power run scheme. I think somewhere like Baltimore could even make a little bit of sense if they're looking for a player to coach up a little bit. However, Baltimore does not have their second-round pick. We'll see where Wyatt Davis goes. There's some injury concerns, but all in all, I really like what he brings to the table. The 7th best player available yet at this point is Terrace Marshall Jr. for me out of LSU. He's 6'3", ran very well at his pro day. Surprisingly, ran a 4.38. I was not expecting that. The tape I didn't think necessarily showed that good speed. We'll see what he actually transitions to in the NFL. I'm not surprised he didn't go on day 1 too much. I think that it's more of an early day 2 pick. However, some teams could really use Terrace Marshall at this point. And I think this is a guy who's not really necessarily a scheme fit type player. He's just going to come in, can be an outside wide receiver. If he lands somewhere like Tennessee, I would really like that. Also, maybe Indianapolis. I think teams that are looking for an outside wide receiver should have Terrace Marshall Jr. on their radar. Now, at the sixth best player available, I have Azeez Ojulari out of the University of Georgia. I think he is the best pass rusher available at this point when it comes to how he uses his hands and a pass rush technique and moves that he presents at that position. He's going to be very, very good at the next level. I think he best fits as a 3-4 edge rusher. As an outside linebacker, he shows some versatility, good athleticism. That's his best fit. I don't think he's going to be a player that you want to ask to put his hand in the dirt, but some 3-4 teams that could really use him would be a nice landing spot. Somewhere like Pittsburgh, maybe. I think that he would be a great Bud Dupree replacement. We'll see exactly where Azeez Ojulari lands, but I think he'll be an interesting player to watch for on day 2. There is also some medical concerns with Ojulari. That's probably why he fell out of the first round. I had a first-round grade on him myself, but Ojulari, without that first-round grade, without that medical security, that's why he falls. I think he's still a top player here coming into day 2. Now, with my 5th best player available, this is Jabril Cox out of LSU, obviously hitting the gritty here, and he's a linebacker / safety hybrid. I know that some people are going to have the concern he's too small to play linebacker. Possibly he's going to need a really dominant defensive line in front of him to help him out in the run game. But I think it's also possible we could see him play a little bit as a box safety. He's got very, very good athleticism for a linebacker, and I think requisite athleticism to play safety in the NFL. He's very, very good in coverage. That is why I have him so high. I think he's arguably the best pass cover linebacker in the class in a lot of ways. Him and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah are the top 2, in my opinion, in that area. And Jabril Cox is going to be a very nice linebacker at the next level, or a quality box safety if a team asks him to do that. At this point now, I'm going to ask you guys, throw your best available players in the comments below. We've got 1 through 4 coming up yet at this point. We'll see if they match any of your guys's. So throw yours in the comment section right now. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the video up to this point. And at 4, we've got Teven Jenkins out of Oklahoma State. Absolutely great in the run game. Looking at him, I think he could be a very, very, very good guard in the NFL, or a very nice right tackle. That's kind of how I see him translating for the most part. I think left tackle is a little ambitious, but possible if he goes to the right system. Maybe a team like Miami here wants to grab him on day 2. We could see him go anywhere in the first 3 picks to possibly the New York Jets, Jacksonville Jaguars, or Miami Dolphins from 33 through 35. I think he's going to have a real market very early on in day 2. I would be surprised if he lasts past pick 40. Crazier things have happened, though. We did see Alex Leatherwood go 17th overall last night, so we'll see if Teven Jenkins does go off the board. Maybe he didn't do very well in some of those team meetings. I don't necessarily have the insider information on that, but I think from a film perspective, Teven Jenkins is the 4th best available player heading into day 2. Number 3 now, I got Trayvon Moehrig. I thought Trayvon Moehrig was going to be a first-round pick last night. He did not actually go off the board. We did not see a single safety drafted, but it's clear and obvious Trayvon Moehrig is the top safety in this year's class out of TCU. I like what he brings in a lot of ways. He's going to be a very, very nice tackler, especially downhill. He's elusive, able to avoid pass blockers, or run blockers rather, out in space. I also think he's going to be very good defending screens at the next level. I think he can play up in the box. I also think he has the requisite skills to cover at that safety position in the NFL. I think he could match up even with some slot wideouts. I think he's going to be a nice option against tight ends in pass coverage as well. I think Trayvon Moehrig, a very nice player at this point. I have him as the 3rd best available player coming into day 2. Second best player coming into day 2 is Christian Barmore for me. I know there's the report saying that, he's not going to be a player that gets coached up very well. He doesn't want to get coached up, that type of thing. I don't care. He is absolutely phenomenal in the run game. He block sheds like no other D tackle in this class. I think he's the clear and obvious best interior defensive lineman, and I think he's going to have a real impact at the NFL level once he gets there, depending on which team chooses him. I don't really see him functioning necessarily as a nose tackle, but I think he'd be best suited in a 4-3 defense where he can play at that D tackle spot, eat up blocks, maybe put him next to a pass rushing D tackle, someone who's a little bit quicker, getting after the quarterback. But all in all, Barmore, I think, going to be a very, very good defensive tackle in the NFL. And then the number 1 player left on the board, this should be no surprise to you guys if you have been keeping up with utility sports content here, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I had him as the best linebacker in the class. I looked at him as a top 10 talent in this year's class. I know that there's some current concerns about his size. He's a little undersized as a linebacker. That's completely fair. But last night we saw Jamin Davis go 19th overall, that was a surprise to me. I thought Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah should have been the pick there for the Washington football team. He's great in coverage. He's also good in the run game when he has lanes to the runner. Now, there are questions about block shedding. I think those are legitimate questions. But all in all, his talent at linebacker, I think, really transcends to what the NFL is doing right now. I think he's going to be an option to even cover some slot wide receivers. You could look at him matching up very, very well with most tight ends in the NFL, in my opinion. And also, he's going to be great out in space covering running backs. A lot of teams need players who can cover those type of positions. Everyone likes to talk how much it can be beneficial for a running back to be involved in the pass game, or a tight end to really be a dynamic threat, or slot wideouts to get open across the middle. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is one of those Swiss Army knives to answer the call and cover those areas of need for a defense. I love Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. If he doesn't go in the top 10 picks here in the second round, I would be absolutely shocked. I think a lot of teams should be interested in moving up for him. We'll see exactly where he goes. I've kind of likened him to Eric Kendricks. Remember, Eric Kendricks a few years back was a second-round pick as well. So Owusu-Koramoah still could be really great value here for a team. Let me know again in the comments below who your top available players are, how you think my list stacks up, and if I missed anyone. Thanks again, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button. Also subscribe if you are new to Utility Sports. Thanks again. We'll catch you in the very next video.